Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us for our special update on ex-tropical Cyclone Fili, which is heading towards the northeastern corner of the North Island, and it brings severe weather into that area and to some other regions as well. Meanwhile, at the other end of the country, a cold front moved in overnight and it brought between 30-40 millimetres to Southland, which is very welcome, especially after similar totals a week ago, and that's a sign that you may be coming out of the drought that you've been in. Now, it's not going to obviously fix it overnight, but there are more showers forecast next week, so that's the good news at the south end of the country. But this is the main storm parked right here. The clouds are moving quickly, but the low pressure zone is sort of stuck in this area, and it's going to speed up quite rapidly as it goes southwards towards the New Zealand area. So let's try and make sense of that for you. Here is where the low lies as we recorded this on Tuesday morning. So you've got the big strong winds. Notice there's kind of a green shading behind there. That is the worst of the winds. Now, the reason why I wanted to show you this map in particular, first of all, it shows you the building northeasterly wind. But here's the part that I want you to focus on. It's this lime green area in here. This is the area where we're seeing the strongest of the winds, the damaging portion. Now, as the center of that low moves this way, all those strong winds slide down the eastern coastline of the upper North Island. So that it brushes Northland's eastern coastline, it brushes Great Barrier Island, and then it moves in potentially quite close to East Cape, Eastern Bay of Plenty, Gisborne, Hawke's Bay. All those areas in this corner exposed to these very strong winds, which are developing, getting stronger. So let's take a look at the progression of this storm over the next day and a half. So here we are on Tuesday morning. Notice the east to northeast wind that is building up around northern areas and a northerly out here around Gisborne. So as we move through this afternoon, the low moves closer and the winds around Auckland start to swing a bit more southeast and then southerly tonight. So that's the reason why the winds are changing shape as that low moves through. Here we are tomorrow, Wednesday. The low itself very close to land, and then it moves out to sea and those winds strengthen even further as it does that. And by the time we reach Thursday morning, it's gone. It is gone already. So it is a short blast of weather. And as you can see, it was very close to East Cape, to this northeastern corner as we go through over Wednesday night, and then into Thursday morning. To make a bit more sense of the rain coming through, this is what we're expecting for the next wee while. This is going through until later today and overnight into tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. These areas with the orange shading, which you can just see on the very eastern areas around Bay of Islands, Great Barrier Island, Coromandel Peninsula, and also around East Cape. That's the beginning of the heavy rain, and then it will slide further down in towards Hawke's Bay. So to make more sense of that, here are the totals. The areas that could cause flooding in the bright blue, which you can see here in these eastern areas, 150 millimetres possible in those areas, and northern Hawke's Bay, Wairoa area, that's an area to keep a close eye on. There could be 200 millimetres plus falling in the ranges around there and over 100 millimetres in the town itself. But then the totals drop right off. The other day, Wellington had a chance of 50 millimetres of rain. Now you're looking at around about 2 to 5. So that's because the storm's moving a little further eastwards, and so the heavy rain goes with it. So this is where we are tonight. Here's where we lie for Tuesday evening. There is the low pressure zone. It is deepening still, and the strong damaging winds right around that middle part, extending out about 200 kilometres from the centre. So that's the worst winds. Then you've got the outer layers where it's blustery, maybe the odd gust to gale force, but less damaging. That's what we're seeing across a big chunk of Northland and Auckland, but a very fine line between it being just a little bit windy and those damaging winds that are just out at sea. So that's the reason why we're watching it very closely. It is not a fizzer, although you might consider it a fizzer if it doesn't get stormy at your place and you like a storm. But this is definitely a storm, and it's staying one while it's out at sea. So that is tonight. Let's get through to lunchtime Wednesday. So this is when it will be at its closest, plus or minus 3 or 4 hours. You know, the computer modelling is pretty much aligned this morning, but the timing of it's still a little bit out. Either way, across all of Wednesday, this is the area to keep an eye on. And those extreme winds, because the storm is quite aggressive as it moves through, those extreme damaging winds extend out about 250 kilometres or so from the centre. So that includes the Eastern Bay of Plenty, East Cape, Gisborne, Hawke's Bay. Then you go outside of that and you might still have severe gales here and there in more exposed areas, but for the most part, these winds aren't looking too bad further away from the centre of the storm. That is lunchtime. And here is the evening, 6 p.m. The bright pink purple, that's the area with the damaging winds. So this is the area to keep an eye on, really hugging from northern Hawke's Bay up towards East Cape and over in towards eastern parts of Bay of Plenty. These are the areas most likely to see the winds. And then there's another side to it, the southerlies coming through Cook Strait, averaging 80 or 90 k's an hour, gusting maybe even over 100 around New Plymouth, or at least around Mount Taranaki to be clear. And then it curves around into Auckland with blustery winds, gale force in some areas, but the usual kind of west to southwest wind. Now as we get in towards Thursday, the storm's out here near the Chatham Islands, and it's just raining now over along the eastern side. I probably shouldn't say just raining now in an area that's just been flooded. So, but what I'm saying is the worst of the weather and the wind will be moving away. So heavy rain there, that's 60 millimetres or so in 24 hours on Thursday. So still some wet weather coming, but drying out behind it. Let's take a look at the long weekend. Here's Good Friday, mostly dry around New Zealand. The storm is quickly disappearing out here and weakening as it moves away. So Friday's a very different day. And then as we go into the weekend, Saturday looks mostly dry around New Zealand, although there is a bit of a southerly front down here in the south and a couple of easterly showers here in the north. And our final map, which is for Easter Sunday, shows some low pressure to the north of New Zealand. So the easterlies are back, which means it's mild. Still got highs in the low 20s, 22, 23 degrees possible, and the overnight lows in the mid-teens up here, and even a slight northerly coming down for the South Island. So high pressure looks to dominate, but that little disturbance to the north, keep an eye on it for Easter Sunday and Monday. It might bring in a few showers here and there. Oh, it might even bring in some rain to the very far north as well, but it's not locked in yet. That is all from me for today. All the best for those of you around the eastern side of the North Island. Ruralweather.co.nz has got a lot of information, and I just want to say thank you, IBM, Weatherwatch business partner, thanks for the extra maps we've got. Met Service for all the warnings you've got to deal with. Alert.info for all the updates, collating it all for your local area. Really great service. Check that out. Weather Zone as well. Thank you to them for some of the maps we put up here. And of course the media doing a great job covering all the different weather forecasters in New Zealand. They've got a tough job because we're the only country on earth to have two government forecasters competing against each other. So NE was making it a little confusing. That is all from me. We will see you again tomorrow with our next update.